Chapter 508 A Blind Date Alone. Janglison looked at Huo Yuao again before continuing. Because we have a phenomenal member of the Sea Gods Pavilion here today, we have decided to make some amendments to the usual rules for our Sea Gods fated blind date in order to make it fair for everyone. Now that we have reached this segment, I suggest that we allow this esteemed member of the Sea Gods Pavilion to proceed with all remaining segments first. All female students will be allowed to select him as your preferred candidate, but rest assured that all of you would still be able to select other candidates subsequently. This new measure will ensure a certain degree of fairness for the other male candidates. After all, even the Eye of the Asura can only leave with a single Sea God's fairy. After Janglison finished her speech, she won the applause and praise of all the other male students. After all, who could compete with the Eye of the Asura? With him around, there was no way that the girls would choose anyone else. Even if there were some who did not show any interest in him, they were definitely in the minority, since the original rules of the third round dictated that all of the girls could only choose their preferred male student once. This would mean that they would not be able to choose anyone else after selecting Huo Yuao, because Huo Yuao ultimately could only leave with one person. This would be massively unfair for the rest of the young men. If the rules were not changed, wouldn't they end up being sideshows for Huo Yuao's performance? Hence, Janglison's suggestion was timely and immensely well received by everyone. Huo Yuao replied to Janglison with a resigned tone. Eldest senior sister, why must you push me into the limelight? But since things have come to this, I'll just go on and complete the remaining segments. Let's not hold up the blind date for the others. After coming to terms with his current situation, he just wanted to complete the segments as quickly as possible and retire to prepare for tomorrow's test. Janglison nodded and announced, "All right, now let us begin the third segment, which will be specially conducted for the Eye of the Asura. Ladies, you may now begin to select him as your preferred candidate. If you have the slightest bit of inclination towards him, I would urge you not to miss this great opportunity. He will begin his graduation examination tomorrow, which means this will be his last time participating in our fated blind date." Huo Yuao was stunned after hearing Janglison's words. His eldest senior sister dead set on messing up my world? The way to indicate interest was still the same as before, to leave their lamp on for him, as everyone had expected, because the ladies had two chances to leave their lamps on. All of the lamps present were left lit for him. Huo Yuao was simply the brightest star among the other students around him. To Soul Masters, one's ability would always be more important than one's looks. Furthermore, Huo Yuao was not bad looking. Even the haughtiest ladies from the inner courtyard could not help but marvel at his fabled experiences. Hence, they all mustered their courage to give themselves a chance at being paired with the Eye of the Asura. After all, even if they were not chosen by him, they had nothing to lose because they could always choose another candidate. Despite seeing all 16 lamps lit for him, Huo Yuao was surprisingly calm. He knew that he was just going through the motions. The stares from the crowd would not be able to do anything to him. So what if all the lamps were still lit? There was only room for Donga and Donga alone in his heart. He knew he just had to let them run the show, and he would leave immediately after everything ended. Janglison and Hanruo glanced at the 16 lamps and nodded gently. Hanruo announced, "After mutual feelings, love at first sight and love at second sight, it's time to let fate decide the romance for our next 3 lives." Hence, our fourth segment is called Destined in 3 Lives. During this segment, I urge the other male students to pay attention to the proceedings. After all, it will be your turn very soon. During this segment, the ladies will take turns making their way to the one they have selected to introduce themselves. Huo Yuao, please take a step forward. Even though some of you, and I believe all of you know who I'm referring to, have plenty of charisma and are capable of attracting more than one female student, I must offer all of you an important reminder. At the end of this segment, if any of the male students are to end up without any interest from a single female student, I'm sorry, but you will have to leave our fated blind date. The rest of the young men will proceed to the final segment. It was one thing to select a male student as your preferred partner. It was another to possess the courage to step forward and confess to him. Under normal circumstances, love at second sight was the segment where the female students would express their interest in the male students. However, it was only when the young women stepped forward and confessed courageously that everyone could determine how sincere their feelings were. Hence, Destined in 3 Lives could very well be the most important segment. All right. Now let us give our female students 3 minutes to make up their minds. After 3 minutes, all of you must make your decision. As of now, I can see that most of you admire Huo Yuao, and that is definitely understandable. After all, he is really outstanding. However, I must say that he isn't a guy who is suitable for every girl. When a guy is too outstanding, you must ask yourself if you possess the ability to hold his attention. While you still have a chance to continue with the fated blind date after getting rejected by Huo Yuao, the other male students will have taken note of your earlier decision regarding him. Hence, I urge all of our Sea Gods fairies to think twice before you make your decision. Your 3 minutes begin now. Huo Yuao gently controlled the lily pad beneath his feet and glided out gracefully before everyone. It appeared eldest senior sister had helped alleviate some of the worries on his mind. The worst thing that could have happened was for him to spoil the entire atmosphere at the fated blind date. That would have been terrible. The best thing would be for everyone to not select him. He would then be able to go through the entire process peacefully and smoothly. After hearing Janglison's words, many female students began to question themselves. Am I able to occupy a place in Huo Yuao's heart? Even though standing firm on their decision would grant them an opportunity to be with him, it was apparent that the chances were extremely slim. In fact, they had noticed that Huo Yuao's face was fairly emotionless, and he had not even focused his eyes on any of them so far. It was only during the time he had lifted up Tang Wutong's bamboo hat that he had revealed a shocked expression, but even then, he had regained his composure very quickly. In fact, the way he left Tang Wutong behind looked as though he was trying to escape from her. Most of the young women felt that they could not hold a candle to Tang Wutong. If Wutong could not attract Huo Yuao, they were definitely not confident in their looks or ability. An overly outstanding guy could very easily make a lady insecure. All of the female students in the inner courtyard were not dumb, and while they hesitated over their decision initially, they made up their minds very quickly. 3 minutes passed very quickly, and Hanruo spoke. Time's up. Now we will begin with Destined in 3 Lives. Because of Huo Yuao's special circumstances, we will first begin by determining how many of you are willing to select him as your preferred male student. Afterwards, we will begin with the self-introductions. Now, I will extinguish all of the lamps, and when I say begin, please light your lamps if you want to choose Huo Yuao as your preferred partner. Hold on, came a voice from the crowd. The person who spoke was none other than Tang Wutong. Hanruo said, "Wutong, is there a problem?" Tang Wutong nodded, and glided forward on her lily pad. She left the area illuminated by the beam of light before turning around to face the 15 other ladies. Sisters, I have a request to make. I'm only here today for one person, and thus, I hope all of you can give me this chance. Can all of you do me this favor? Her words might have appeared to be a little ambiguous, but it was plain for everyone to see what she meant. Even though she spoke slowly, most of the ladies could sense the anxiety and desperation in her words. Janglison frowned and spoke. Wutong, it's not right for you to pressure others to give up on Huo Yuao. It's not fair to the rest of them. Tang Wutong took a deep breath before replying. I'm sorry, eldest senior sister, but I. She suddenly stopped speaking as her emotions became increasingly muddled, and to everyone's surprise, she bowed before all of the other female students and apologized. I'm sorry. I was too anxious. Let's treat it as though I didn't say anything. Let's continue with the proceedings. Following which, she controlled her lily pad and glided back to her previous position. Her head was now lowered as her eyebrows were locked into a deep frown. No one was sure what was on her mind, but they could all tell that she seemed to be in some sort of pain. After observing how she had acted, Huo Yuao was similarly shocked. What's going on? It can't be because of me, right? Wutong, you better not be like Hua. My heart belongs to someone already. Janglison spoke sternly. I want to remind all of you to not act in the same way as Tang Wutong did. Whoever messes up the proceedings of the fated blind date will be kicked out. Let's ignore what she said and continue with the proceedings. Can we now extinguish the lights from the lamps? The 16 beams of light vanished, and all 16 female students were enshrouded in darkness. We now invite our female students to make their decisions. For those who are willing to introduce yourselves and display your abilities to Huo Yuao, you may now light your lamp. Hanruo announced authoritatively. The first golden light appeared from Tang Wutong. A cold feeling gripped Huo Yuao's heart. Wutong, why? Following that, 3 other lamps lit up. 2 of the lamps belonged to 2 women who up until now had not lifted their bamboo hats. The last light belonged to an extremely beautiful female student. Even though she paled a little in comparison to Tang Clan, she was still undeniably very attractive. It was clear that the ladies who ended up choosing Huo Yuao possessed immense courage and the confidence to challenge their main competitor, Tang Clan. Jiang nodded and spoke. It seems like we have 4 fairies who have chosen Huo Yuao. Can I invite all 4 of you to step forward? The 4 lily pads floated forward until they were 50 meters in front of Huo Yuao. Jiang announced, since Tang Clan messed up earlier, she will be the last to introduce herself. We shall now invite our female students to take turns and introduce themselves to Huo Yuao. The order will go like this: fairy number 3, number 6, number 11, and then finally number 8. So without further ado, let us invite Sea God's fairy number 3 to begin her introduction. Fairy number 3, you have yet to remove your bamboo hat. Would you like to remove it now? I would like to remove it now. The voice of fairy number 3 was bright and loud. She lifted her hand and removed her bamboo hat. This young woman's figure was very balanced and exuded a very feminine kind of attractiveness. Her face only had a thin layer of makeup, and her big eyes were very attractive. Her short hair coupled with her brows gave her the look of a very beautiful heroine. Jiang announced, you may now begin your introduction. Fairy number 3 nodded and spoke. Hello Huo Yuao. I am Bai Sei, but everyone calls me Xiaobai. As of now, I'm a 6-ring Soul Emperor, which is a long way from you. To be honest, even before I entered the inner courtyard, I had already heard about your achievements in the academy. Even though I entered the inner courtyard 2 years before you overtook me with so much ease. If I were to be very frank, I would say my feelings are born out of curiosity rather than mere attraction. I have always revered strong soul masters and hence, whoever wants to take me as their partner must first defeat me. Even if you don't choose me, I would challenge you to a duel in the later segment. That's all I have to say. It's up to you to choose me or not. This self-introduction was truly badass. She didn't waste any time with flowery words, and laid her credentials and thoughts bare. She was a true badass heroine. Huo Yuao nodded politely as he remained silent. Jiang was resigned as she shook her head. Xiao Bai, you're still as blunt as ever. It seems like it will be rather difficult for you to find a husband in the future. You're no different from a man. All right. Now let us welcome fairy number 6. Fairy number 6 was a gentle-looking lady who had not been wearing a bamboo hat. She stepped forward before gently bowing before Huo Yuao. She spoke softly. Hello senior Huo. My name is Mu Yue. Similar to Xiaobai, I heard about your incredible stories some time ago. Because I just entered the inner courtyard this year, my abilities are probably not worth mentioning. I just want you to know that I really admire you a lot. Your stories have been my source of motivation to challenge myself and become better. Even though today is my first time meeting you in person, you have already left an indelible mark in my mind. Her introduction was even shorter than Xiaobai's, and she did not mention much about herself. But her self-introduction showed a lot more affection than Xiaobai's. Furthermore, Mu Yue had an enormous advantage in her voice. The way she talked was very gentle and melodic. Even Huo Yuao was surprised at how perfect her voice was. Similar to how he reacted to Xiaobai's introduction, Huo Yuao nodded silently. Now let us welcome fairy number 11. Jiang announced. You can also choose whether you want to remove your bamboo hat for Huo Yuao. I'm sorry, eldest senior sister. As of now, I don't want to remove my bamboo hat. I hope that Huo Yuao can take it off for me. A calm and clear voice rang out from underneath the bamboo hat. Even though her voice was almost a monotone, one could sense the emotions brimming in her choice of words. Hi Huo Yuao, my name is Sutong. I'm a 7-ring soul sage, and my martial soul is the Ice Ski Snow Lady. Her introduction was even shorter than the 2 ladies before her. However, her last line was enough to catch Huo Yuao's attention. Ice Ski Snow Lady. Unless Sutong also possesses ultimate ice. From what Huo Yuao knew, even in the extreme north, the Snow Empress was the only Ice Ski Snow Lady around. There was no other known Ice Ski Snow Ladies. No one had expected to find someone with the Ice Ski Snow Lady martial soul among humans. Huo Yuao was not the only one shocked by Sutong's words. Even Jiang Lisan, Han Ruro, and some of the higher-ups from Shrek Academy were taken aback by her words. Elder Sun turned around and asked Yan Shaosh, Shaosh, what's going on? When did we have a student with an Ice Ski Snow Lady martial soul in our inner courtyard? Why was I not informed of this? Yan Shaosh gave an awkward laugh. Elder Sun, even I was not aware of this. Sutong was only admitted into the academy recently. When she just entered, she told us her martial soul was a snow spirit, a powerful ice element martial soul. She never told us her martial soul was actually an Ice Ski Snow Lady, and we never detected her ultimate ice ability. It seems like she must have purposely concealed her abilities. None of us expected her to do so. Elder Sun paused before saying, how old is Sutong this year? Yan Shaosh replied, she's 20, quite a bit older than Huo Yuao. However, she possesses an ultimate ice martial soul. It is notoriously hard for a 20-year-old to train one's ultimate ice to the soul sage level. Her future must be unbelievably bright. Elder Sun nodded and said, let's wait and see. Who knows? Yuao might be able to uncover more unknown things about her. Bai Sei, Mu Yue, and Sutong were all attractive candidates in their own ways. Bai Sei exuded the vibes of an energetic and driven heroine. Mu Yue was unbelievably gentle, while Sutong, like Huo Yuao, possessed ultimate ice and was enshrouded in an air of mystery. But even then, they were unable to overshadow Tang Wutong. Jiang Lisan looked at Tang Wutong and announced, fairy number 8, it's your turn. While the 3 ladies were giving their self-introductions, Tang Wutong was just standing there silently, occasionally frowning and stealing glances at Huo Yuao. She had a confused look on her face as a tinge of melancholy crept across it. Her anxious breathing could not hide the uneasy feelings in her heart. I'm Tang Wutong. And that was all she said. There seemed to be some sort of strange pattern in the way the ladies introduced themselves. Their introductions simply got shorter. Jiang Lisan frowned at Tang Wutong before announcing, now that we are done with the self-introductions, we can move on to the last segment, Eternal Love. Yuao, it is now your turn to choose one of these ladies. After you have made your decision, you may leave with her. However, if someone opposes you and challenges you to a duel, you must win in order to leave with the lady whom you have selected. Failure to win means that you have to return home empty-handed. Of course, you may choose from the fairies who did not select you. If you choose any of them, they have the right to challenge you. Huo Yuao nodded slightly. He already knew Jiang Lisan had simplified the instructions given for the Eternal Love segment. After all, it was not his first time attending the fated blind date, and he could still remember a large part of the rules. Just when he was about to announce his decision, but he did not want to choose any of them and leave, Jiang Lisan continued, because we have 4 fairies who have chosen you. They will now take turns to give you a 1-minute confession. We will adhere to the same sequence as before. Bai Sei, you may begin. Bai Sei stared at Huo Yuao as she glided forward on her lily pad. Senior Huo, today is our first time meeting each other in person. To be honest, I only admire strong people, and that is why I chose you. But I must admit that we probably do not hold any romantic feelings for one another. Hence, even if you were to choose someone else, I won't feel too upset about it. Even if you choose me, I will still find a chance to spar with you. To summarize what I have just said, rather than be your girlfriend, I'm more inclined to spar with you. If you were to trash me in a battle, who knows? I might just fall in love with you. Even though Huo Yuao was just going through the motions, he was still very much amused by Bai Sei's words. In fact, her confession could be summed up as the following: you can make whatever decision you want, but I must fight you. She was a true badass. Whoever married her in the future would most definitely have an enjoyable marriage. She was definitely 1 in a million. Han Ruro announced, Mu Yue, it's your turn. Mu Yue followed Bai Sei as she maneuvered her way in front of Huo Yuao. She took a short pause before confessing, Senior Huo, in my eyes, admiration and reverence is the precursor for love. Before I met you in person, I had heard so much about you. I know I don't have much of an advantage before my outstanding senior sisters, but I still will stand forward to confess. This might just be the bravest thing I've done in the past 10 years. I won't regret my decision, because I really like you. Even if you don't choose me, you will always be a hero in my heart, forever and always. Huo Yuao nodded politely in her direction to acknowledge her feelings. Her eyes and voice are too gentle. If he didn't already have someone whom he loved, he might have wavered under such circumstances. Su Tong, it's your turn. Su Tong did not glide forward on her lily pad. Instead, she stood where she was and kept her bamboo hat on her head. The same calm and borderline monotone voice came forth again. I know both of us possess ultimate ice. That's why I'm curious to find out how different we are in terms of our power. You might be the brightest star from Shrek Academy, but I'm also very confident in my abilities. If you can use your powers to take the bamboo hat off my head, I will leave with you. If they were to categorize by say as badass and Mu Yue as gentle, Su Tong would undeniably be haughty. Her haughtiness exuded from her words, and made many of the spectators rather uncomfortable. Huo Yue remained calm as he nodded politely, just as before. However, he had already shifted his attention to Tang Wutong. Even though he knew very well that Tang Wutong was not Wang Donga, he could not resist looking at her beautiful face. Tang Wutong, it's your turn. Zhang Lisan announced. Tang Wutong nodded as she looked up and stared right into Huo Yuao's eyes. The lily pad beneath her did not move, but it began to give off a golden radiance. Yuao, we have not known each other for long, but during our first encounter, you mistook me for Wang Donga and hugged me. I was very angry back then and really wanted to kill you. Afterwards, we had a couple more interactions, and I started to look beyond the initial hatred I had for you. I began to see some of your qualities, your calm, your quick thinking, and more. Whenever your group faced any form of danger, you were always the one rushing to the front and protecting your peers, sometimes at the expense of your own safety. It was during that time that I found my hatred towards you slowly disappearing. Compared to her self-introduction, Tang Wutong's confession seemed more like a slow recitation of her memories with Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao was a bit taken aback by her words. He could still remember how happy he was when he had first met Tang Wutong. Afterwards, when we were all by the river, you grilled fish for all of us. After our feast, Nanan came over to tell me how you actually only wanted to grill fish for me. That was the most delicious meal I had ever had. What surprised me most was how eating the fish that you grilled for me gave me an indescribable feeling. At that moment, I felt lost. I don't know how to describe that feeling, but I just felt like I really admired you. It was an admiration, or rather, a sense of attraction that came from the bottom of my heart. Even though I could not put my feelings into words back then, I felt really happy. Otherwise, I would not have allowed you to inject your soul power into me back then at the military camp. You should know very well what that means to a soul master. Every soul master's way of cultivation, especially their circulation path, was their biggest secret. Even though Huo Yuao might not have been able to find out much about Tang Wutong's circulation path, being given permission to inject his soul power into her was already an immense hint as to how she felt about him. After hearing what Tang Wutong said, Huo Yuao revealed an expression of regret. He really regretted attempting to verify Tang Wutong's identity. If he had not tried to do so, he could still live happily in the illusion that she was actually Wang Donga. Even if Wang Donga refused to be with him, but his attempt to verify her identity completely destroyed the illusion and left Huo Yuao with no hope. He completely gave up on Tang Wutong after realizing that she was not Wang Donga. As Tang Wutong paused, Zhang Lisan interjected. Tang Wutong, are you done with your confession? Tang Wutong shook her head fervently and clarified. Not yet. Let me finish what I have to say. Zhang Lisan frowned. Then you'd better hurry. If you take up too much time, it would be unfair to the others. I understand. Tang Wutong replied, before hastily shifting her gaze back to Huo Yuao. I'm running out of time, but there's so much I want to say to you. Yuao, I am standing before you today just like I did back then, when you chose me even before you saw my appearance. Can you take me with you today? I have so much to say to you. He stared calmly at Tang Wutong, but his heart was wrenching with pain. Tang Wutong, why must you bring up such things? You are not Donga, and never will be. Even though you may look like her, you are ultimately not her. How can I take you with me? Zhang Lisan announced. All right. Now that everyone is done, it's now Yuao's turn to make his decision. Yuao, the time is now yours. Huo Yuao nodded at Zhang Lisan and Han Ruruo before turning his attention to the four ladies before him. He sighed and apologized. I'm deeply grateful for the attention and affection which all of you have showered upon me. But to be very honest, I didn't intend to come today. I already have a certain lady in my heart. A girl who I met at my previous fated blind date. We met each other back then and got together. However, something peculiar happened to her, and she has disappeared. Even now, I'm unable to find her. However, this doesn't change the fact that my heart can only contain her and no one else. Until the end of my life, I can only love her and her only. The only reason why I attended this blind date is because all single students of the inner courtyard must attend. Because of this, I'm terribly sorry for what I have put all of you through. By saying Su Tong, feel free to look for me for a duel whenever either of you wish. I'm open to such challenges. With that, he turned around to look at Zhang Lisan before saying, eldest senior sister, let's call it a day. I will take my leave now and not interfere with the other students' blind date. After finishing his sentence, Huo Yuao nodded at Zhang Lisan and Han Ruruo and turned to leave. Hold on. At this very moment, three voices simultaneously demanded that he stop. Huo Yuao turned around and realized that the three voices belonged to Bai Sei, Su Tong, and Tang Wutong. Bai Sei spoke anxiously. You can't leave like this. Do you know how hard it is to bump into you in person? If I were to miss this opportunity to spar with you today, I'm not sure how long I would have to wait before I got to see you in person again. Let's just spar today. Su Tong gave him a cold sneer. That's right. Even if you didn't choose us, you should at the very least spar with us before leaving. I want to prove to everyone present that I am stronger than you. After both of them clarified their reasons, it was Tang Wutong's turn to speak, but she merely bit her lip and kept quiet. No one knew what was on her mind. But slowly, she looked back up at Huo Yuao with a determined stare. Huo Yuao frowned as memories of Wang Donga were awakened by this fated blind date. Burdened by the heartache from those memories, all Huo Yuao wanted to do was leave this blind date and find a quiet corner to hide. However, these ladies were overbearing, and they were getting on his nerves. Okay. Since both of you are so interested in challenging me, why don't I perform two moves, and both of you try to replicate them? If either of you can replicate them, I will willingly concede defeat. Huo Yuao's voice was not particularly loud, but everyone present, regardless of whether they were above the lake or all the way at the lakeside, could hear him clearly. At that very instant, the students from the outer courtyard stood up in unison in excitement. They were about to witness Huo Yuao, the owner of the Eyes of the Asura, the Academy's youngest ever member of the Sea Gods Pavilion, the founder of the Spirit Pagoda, and the inventor of spirits, perform before their very eyes. Was he really going to demonstrate his abilities in front of everyone? Oh, what a sight that would be. The students from the outer courtyard had long wanted to see spirits, an important lesson module within Shrek Academy which had been made famous by word of mouth, with their own eyes. Nothing could beat watching the inventor use what he had invented, right? Everyone had huge expectations for the upcoming display from Huo Yuao. Just when everyone was hyped up for what they were about to see, Huo Yuao took a step forward and left a lily pad beneath him. As he stood calmly above the surface of the lake, a thick circle of ice with a diameter of roughly 2 meters formed beneath his feet and took his weight. Huo Yuao nodded politely towards Bai Sei before gazing up at the sky. At that very instant, his eyes appeared to lose focus, as though his attention had drifted off and away into the skies. However, this only lasted for a short while before a massive change followed. An incredibly strong sense of nostalgia rippled out into the surroundings from him. His emotions appeared to be pouring out of his gaze. He took a step forward off the ice into the empty space before him. Huo Yuao levitated above the lake as his soul rings started to rise from his feet. Every soul ring's color was pristine and free from any form of adulteration. The white, black, gold, and red rings were all equally impressive, as all 7 rings shone brilliantly with their individual colors. The energy coming off of Huo Yuao's body was way beyond what any normal 7-ring soul sage could produce. The outer courtyard students by the lake were not able to differentiate it, but the inner courtyard students, who were a lot nearer, were all stupefied. Even though he only had 7 soul rings, Huo Yuao seemed to be giving off the energy levels of an 8-ring soul sage. Unless he has already become an 8-ring soul sage. But if that is the case, why would he only have 7 rings? Of course, Huo Yuao would not give away the answer. Before anyone knew it, he suddenly struck a fist up towards the sky. At that very instant, his whole body turned golden. In fact, the soul rings surrounding him all turned golden as well. The intent from his punch left a deep impression in everyone's hearts. Everyone present could feel a powerful feeling of nostalgia surging from the depths of their hearts. Images of the ones they missed the most formed in everyone's minds simultaneously. Some missed their mothers, while others missed their fathers. But what was common between those mental images was the love they all had for the ones whom they missed the most. The power of that fist's intent was so strong that even the title Douluo on the ship were affected by the yearning for one's loved one. At that very instant, everyone, including Elder Sun, Yan Shaosh, and the other powerful Douluo, had their emotions affected to different extents by Huo Yuao's move. Immediately following this moving performance, a powerful golden glow exploded into the air as his golden fist transformed into a pillar of golden radiance shooting straight up into the heavens, illuminating the entirety of the Sea God's Lake and the whole of the Sea God's Island. At that very instant, all of Shrek Academy was painted in gold. Bai Sei, who was standing just opposite Huo Yuao, was completely stunned by what she had just seen. How was she going to replicate such a powerful move executed by the guy who was floating in midair before her? The move Huo Yuao had performed contained a scary amount of spiritual intent, and Bai Sei was certain that she would be severely injured or even killed if such a blow landed on her. She knew very well that even if she were currently at the Soul Sage level, instead of her current Soul Emperor level, she would not have been able to take the blow. Why is the intensity of the soul power fluctuations radiating from his body beyond that of an ordinary Soul Sage? Is he still human? At this very instant, Bai Sei realized Huo Yuao's figure was indelibly imprinted in her mind. His magnificent golden figure was now an immovable image in the depths of her heart. As the golden color in the sky gradually faded away, the students from Shrek Academy slowly collected themselves after witnessing Huo Yuao's move. However, just when they thought they had recovered from the shock, they were met with another unbelievable sight. Yes, it appeared that something in the sky had once again surprised them. There was another person, someone completely golden. This person's silhouette was incredibly beautiful. Her long dress weighed down perfectly, her long hair covered her back gracefully, while her beauty glowed in a gentle yet alluring way. She appeared to be looking into the distance, as though she were waiting or yearning for someone. The students from the outer courtyard could not see it clearly, but those from the inner courtyard who were participating in the Sea God's fated blind date were shocked, because the levitating person looked exactly like Tang Wutong. Only those who had seen Wang Donga before knew that that person was not Tang Wutong. Wang Donga, the former goddess of light, used to have wavy hair, but the person levitating in the air had straight hair. But yes, that person was none other than Wang Donga, the person who had stolen away Huo Yuao's heart. This scene was utterly breathtaking. Wang Donga was gazing down at Huo Yuao from high up in the air, while Huo Yuao returned her stare lovingly from a lower altitude. The entire Sea God's Lake was theirs, and everyone else present was invisible. No one wanted to let out a scream of excitement or exhilaration anymore. While they were all shocked beyond belief, they did not want to spoil the beautiful scene, Huo Yuao and Wang Donga's reunion, taking place before their eyes. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.